You know, there are these really subtle communication habits that could be quietly holding back your career. And the tricky part is you probably don't even see them, but your colleagues and managers, oh, they definitely do. So today we're going to make those invisible mistakes visible.
I mean, that's a powerful statement, right? The way we talk, the way we share our ideas, it can literally cause us to be overlooked for big opportunities, even when we are fantastic at our jobs. It's really not just about what you know, it's about how you communicate what you know. So what are these mistakes that are costing us so much?
Well, it turns out there are about 5 of these big, invisible mistakes, and they all fall into 3 major categories that we're going to break down right now. And hey, by the end of this, you're going to have a brand new toolkit to spot them in yourself and know exactly what to do instead. All right, mistake number 1 is all about giving unclear answers. This is that thing we do where we're trying so hard to be thorough, to prove our value, but we just end up being, well, confusing. It usually sounds a lot like rambling or just thinking out loud. Okay, imagine this scene, because I'm sure it's familiar. Your boss asks a super simple question like, hey, are we still on track for the Friday deadline? Instead of just answering, you launch into the entire project history, right? You're like, well, the kickoff was a little late, and then we had some wireframe issues, and the developer found a bug. You're talking your way towards the answer instead of just giving the answer. And I mean, just look at the difference here. The rambling response on the left, it leaves your manager totally lost trying to figure out what the actual answer is. But the one on the right, it's crisp, it's confident, it's direct. One of these builds your credibility, and the other, well, it slowly chips away at it. So why do we even do this? We think we're adding all this super valuable context, showing off how hard we're working, but what's really going through the other person's head while they're listening to that monologue? And this is where the disconnect is just huge. You think you sound brilliant, like you're on top of every little detail. But your manager, they just hear someone who's unclear and frankly, really hard to follow. And the result, and this is the painful part, is that you actually lose credibility in the exact moment you're trying to build it up. So how do we fix this? It's a simple but really powerful framework called ACQ. First, just answer the question directly in one sentence. Then, add a tiny bit of context, but only if it's really needed. And then, and this is the magic step, ask a question. Something like, is there any part of that you'd like me to go into more detail on? That's it. It puts them in control and it stops you from rambling. Now, this whole need to prove ourselves can actually lead right into another big mistake, taking a really weak position. This is what happens when you try so hard to be flexible and agreeable that you just don't have a position at all, and you end up making yourself kind of invisible.
Oh my gosh, we've all been there, right? The team's trying to figure out where to grab lunch, and someone says that. It feels like you're being helpful, like you're easygoing, but what it really does is just slow things down. And in a meeting at work, this habit is way more damaging.
And here's the real problem. This doesn't come across as flexible, it comes across as indecisive. While you're busy trying not to cause any friction, what's really happening is that people just stop asking for your opinion. You slowly but surely make yourself forgettable in the conversations that matter most. The solution here is another simple little framework, PRO. First, just state your position. I think we should go with option B. Next, give a reason, because it addresses the client's main concern from last week. And finally, open it up for discussion. What are your thoughts on that? See, it's not aggressive, it's constructive. It pushes the conversation forward and it shows everyone you're adding real value.
Okay, so we've talked about the content, the actual words you say. This last area of mistakes is all about the delivery. It's not just what you say, but how you say it. It's about having a passive presence where you just kind of mirror the energy in the room instead of actually helping to create it. The best communicators, the ones who really have that it factor, they don't just copy the energy around them, they lead it. They can walk into a room, get a feel for the vibe, match it for a second to connect with people, and then consciously steer the conversation where it needs to go. Maybe it needs more energy, or maybe it needs to be more serious and focused. That ability is what makes someone so magnetic.
And one of the most powerful ways to lead the energy is with your voice. I love this analogy. Think of your voice like a piano. The problem is, most of us just play the same 5 keys over and over and over. We speak with the same speed, the same volume, the same melody, no matter what we're talking about. And the result? It's monotonous, and people just tune out. So, the solution is to start thinking of your voice as having these different dials you can turn up or down. For instance, your rate. You can speed up your rate of speech to show passion and urgency, or you can slow it right down to give your words more weight and seriousness. Then there's volume. You can turn up the volume to project confidence and energy, or you can bring it down a little to create some intimacy and really make people lean in to listen. And finally, by changing your melody, going up and down in your pitch, you just sound so much more dynamic and engaging. The best speakers are always playing with these dials.
Look, these solutions aren't just little one-off fixes for separate problems. When you actually start putting them all together, they become this amazing new communication toolkit you can use in pretty much any situation to be way more effective.
So here it is. This is your new toolkit. When you need to be clear, you've got the ACQ Framework. When you need to show some conviction, you've got the PRO Framework. And when you want to build your presence and command a room, you've got your vocal dials. Seriously, these 3 tools can totally change how people see you at work. Let's end on this thought right here. Working on these skills isn't about being fake or changing who you are. It's about letting go of old habits that just aren't helping you anymore and unlocking a more effective, more influential version of yourself. It's really about giving that future you, the one who's respected and listened to and recognized, a real shot.